The Jamie Dyer Show.
Now, anyone who lives in West Sussex will know that vintage is absolutely massive in this area. Vintage is big business. We've had vintage entertainers and stuff on the show before. Today, we're joined by a couple more who are in a group, Ben Pryer and the Lucky Dogs. Ben Pryer and his bandmate Jack join us now. Can you tell us, right, you're two guys in your early 20s, in your 20s, why 50s and 60s rock and roll for you?
I think we've always had a deep love for 50s and 60s rock and roll. It's always kind of stemmed from our grandfathers, I think, who would listen to those kind of records, and we would then, kind of nick them off them and listen to them and play them ourselves. And I think we were kind of brought up with that almost pre-installed into us, and it came as almost like second nature, and we just thought, you know what, how amazing would it be if we could do this for other people, if we could perform this for people.
Yeah, well, listening to you, because you've got clips on YouTube and you've done gigs locally, you're so tight. I mean, how on earth do you manage to get that kind of old-timey sound? It is very much like going back in time. How do you even go about that?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, we've got we try and do it as period accurate as possible, but with that sort of modern twist. So there's a lot of great gear out there nowadays for musicians that sort of has that replication of the vintagey kind of stuff. And, we've got valve amps and stuff like that. But, yeah, we like a lot of the newer gear, and sort of just you have to go back and listen to those records and see how they were played and watch the old clips on YouTube there's some great stuff on there. And we just sort of try and replicate it as best as we can, but have fun with it and make it our own as well. And it kind of turns out well.
Well, and anyone that knows that period of music will know that there is a huge amount. How on earth do you go about choosing what songs to cover? I mean, there's a huge variety of stuff that you do, but how do you go about choosing it?
I think we are literally finding songs that we just have loved, but beforehand, and we still find new things every day. We find new little hidden gems from the 50s and 60s that were even at some point very popular songs that we'd just forgotten about, and sometimes they're complete unknown songs, but we find them still to this day, and we put them in the set, and it's like falling in love with music every single day. You get like a new little love of in the form of music.
Yeah, now for those who don't know, because I've mentioned your repertoire, it says on your press release that you've sent me, performing hits from legends like Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash and Buddy Holly. Now, it kind of stuck out to me, and it was explained to me by somebody what this means, but why Johnny Cash among all those quite rock and roller names?
Of course. Well, Johnny Cash was actually one of the first few to make it huge from the record label Sun Records, which was, of course, as many know, the birth of rock and roll in Memphis, and that's where rock and roll had started. It's where Elvis Presley had been founded, and Johnny Cash was, along with Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, there was a few more like that who all started in Sun Records, and although he's very much so kind of that original kind of rebel country sound, he is rock and roll as well, and I think we almost want to let people know that Johnny Cash was there from the beginning with Presley, with Jerry Lee, and with the greats, and he helped create this incredible genre that is rock and roll.
Well, yeah, and I notice as well that there's only 3 of you. How'd you get such a big sound from just 3 guys?
Well, yeah, that's probably the most difficult thing. See, we also go out as a 4-piece, and we have a pianist as well, a very talented pianist, and we go out as a 4-piece as much as possible. But there's a lot of shows that only call for a 3-piece, whether it be the amount of space that we've got, or someone's budget or something like that. And so we go out as a 3-piece a lot, and it is incredibly difficult to get a sound that kind of fills out a room and that really sounds like rock and roll. But I think it's down to the fact that we can utilize, as Jack said, the modern gear that we have today, and we managed to replicate a bigger sound that still keeps true to the 50s and 60s. And
and there was a lot of trios back in the 50s where a really basic setup where you just have a small drum kit, bass player, and then a singer playing guitar, and there was a lot of that going on in the actual era. So try not to overcomplicate it too much,
Yeah.
and just have fun.
Well, yeah, it's very bass driven, and I like that. How do you go about the arrangements? Because I noticed I saw you do a cover of Blue Suede Shoes, which was at one of the events you did recently, and you were going from one of the original versions as opposed to Elvis Presley's version. How do you go about choosing which version of the songs? Because I know from much research that a lot of those songs were covered numerous times in many different ways. How do you go about choosing it?
Well, I don't know. I think we kind of put our heads together and we kind of all listen to the songs at the same time. I mean, you've got a very good ear to spot that. But yeah, we do a Carl Perkins version of Blue Suede Shoes. And of course, it was made popular by Elvis. And we love Elvis's version as well. But I think for us, when it comes to choosing arrangements, we choose the one that we think will be most effective with the sound that we have. And I think Carl Perkins, the way that he did it with the intro, and just using that song as a reference anyway, he kind of has that suspenseful intro that we really found effective for our lineup especially. And I think that's how we take arrangements. We see how they will fit us best and work around that, don't we?
Yeah, and there's we play Saw Us Standing There as well, and we do that kind of the Jerry Lee sort of version of it. But yeah, there's like you said, there's a ton of covers in the 50s, and then a load of covers in the 60s of 50s music, and we just try and sort of find out which version works for us, and then put our own little stamp on it. And
I think that's also what makes us quite different from any other rock and roll band, is that we I like to think of us as doing what the greats did in the 60s with the 50s music. They take the arrangements and kind of they bring it alive, although they're already amazing, but in the 60s they made it different and they made it their own. And I think that's kind of like how we feel with how we perceive rock and roll, and that we want to share that with everyone. And I think that's
good.
I'm rambling on.
No, it's fine. It's really interesting to hear, because I've been a musician for a long time, sort of playing that era of music, and I know exactly what you mean about taking something and making it your own. When someone books you, do they pick the set list or do you pick it?
Well, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they are normally quite satisfied with our wide kind of repertoire that we have anyway. But on certain occasions, people will come to us and they'll say, look, I love this song. I used to love this song in the 50s and 60s, or, my father used to listen to this song. Is there any way that you can do it? And most of the time, we're already quite familiar with that song, and we can kind of do it either on the night or with a bit of practice beforehand. But it's normally a set list that we've chosen that we think will appeal to everyone, and that we think will get everyone up and dancing. And even the diehard 50s fans, I think they always enjoy it as well. So yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah, well, you've got an upcoming gig. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're performing in the incredible Empire Hall in Grafham, which is a lovely venue, and it holds, I think, maybe like a couple of hundred people or so. And we are performing there, doing a whole night of 50s and 60s music, and it's you can dress the part as well. There's going to be many people dressing period accurate, and there's going to be some dancers there, and we're going to be performing all the hits, all of our favorite hits from the 50s and 60s, and a lot of popular ones as well. And it's going to be an absolute action-packed evening full of dancing music and some original hit records in there as well.
Well, it sounds fascinating, and I hope that many people go along, because I'm sure there will be a lot of jiving and stuff going on, which I'm sure is what you want to see anyway. Thank you, Ben and Jack, for coming on today. It's been great to talk to you. And as I say, if anyone wanted to find out more about, about what you do or websites or anything, where would they need to go?
All they have to do is go to www.theluckydogs.co.uk, and they can find all of our details there and anything they need to know.
And you're on Facebook and Twitter as well, aren't you?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole lot.
Wonderful. Right, well, thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, mate.
The Jamie Dyer Show.